Okay, today we're going to move on to a new topic related obviously to the current circumstances which we're in, but away from the circumstances of prayer. I'd like to look at a slightly different angle. And this is in a binary response which was written on the 27th of ER, Tufshin Pei. So close to Shavuot a few months ago. And Rabbi Weiss received a number of short questions, which he gives short answers to, relating to the status of the things in the coronavirus pandemic in Israel at the time. And some of them I think are still applicable to us to consider now, not just for their learning, of course, but in practice as well. So the first question he was asked was, and he says he was asked many questions, he had answered as many as he could, and a selection of the ones he was able to write up are included in this book. So the first question he was asked is, that someone who has been in isolation and then comes out of isolation, should they say Birkat HaGomel? I think in English we translate that as should they bench Gomel or not? So he says there is no source that says that one should bench Gomel having come out of isolation, unless, God forbid, one was ill. And if one was ill, then one has to, in a way that was very serious, one has to bench Gomel when one has got better. And indeed, we know people who've done that in cases where, thank God, they have recovered from coronavirus and obviously other things as well. But he said that if the person wasn't ill, then benching Gomel does not apply. In other words, it's the wrong response to this particular question. And even if you would claim that one of the parameters of benching Gomel is that you do so when you've been released from prison, Rabbi Weiss notes that although, of course, being in isolation is not something one would choose to do, it's very far away from being imprisoned, particularly by a hostile government or a hostile authority, and where one was perhaps in fear of one's life because of the situations and the context of the prison. So he says that one shouldn't bench Gomel. However, of course, there are other ways to express one's gratitude through saying the appropriate tehillim, like Mizmor Tzodah, for instance, and giving of tzedakah, and doing ma'asim tovim, which are always great ways, doing good deeds to help others, are always great ways to express one's gratitude for things that have been good for oneself. So just fascinating, I think, that he was asked this question, which I don't know if it came up in Jewish history before. I don't know if it was ever asked about in the Tzorah when they came, or someone who was had tzarat in a different terms if they came out of isolation with the bench Gomel. But nonetheless, it shows how the questioner wanted to find an appropriate way of marking the fact that he was able to come out of isolation. So that's what Rabbi Weiss's response is. Tomorrow we'll see how he responded to questions of Bikur Cholim during the pandemic, and particularly when a person is in isolation. Does the mitzvah Bikur Cholim apply in a regular way? Or are there different ways in which this mitzvah has to be put into place? In the meantime, please God, we should all be well and have a great day.
Have a good day.